we're glad to welcome you here today, and we look forward to thanking lots of people who helped make this day possible. So I see many faces here who contributed to this effort. I will try to recognize all of you. I will make a mistake. I will mispronounce your name. I will forget somebody. But at the end of the day, please forgive me. Our intention is to make sure we get everybody. So with that said, I'm going to welcome Tim McNamara, who is the mayor of the city of Lebanon. The city has been a huge partner with us in developing affordable housing and in preserving this affordable housing. And here to welcome us is Mayor McNamara.
Have to write things down. It comes with age. Good afternoon. I grew up here in West Lebanon, just up the road here on what was our old family farm. And I watched this project, which was then called Pinewood Village, being constructed back in the 1970s when I was a much younger man. I also had the pleasure of serving on the board of Twin Pines when they purchased the property in 2015. And I vividly recall the condition of the buildings at that time. The property, as Andrew mentioned, had been under the same ownership for over 30 years. And while the previous owner had performed routine maintenance, few, if any, significant improvements had been made here. The investments that you see here today were long overdue. They will make these buildings much more energy efficient, resulting in both a reduction in operating costs and in the use of fossil fuels. They will also improve the quality of life for the residents. They're a clear demonstration that Twin Pines is not just a landlord, but also a good steward of their properties and the public investment that has been made in them. Andrew and his staff deserve a tremendous amount of credit for the work that they have done here and at their many other properties, and I think they deserve a round of applause for that. By purchasing what is now called the Village at Crafts Hill, Twin Pines has assured that it will remain as high-quality, affordable housing for decades to come. Projects like this are extremely important in helping to ensure that everyone has a place to call home, regardless of their economic situation. But they're only one piece of the puzzle. We all know that a shortage of housing of all types is an issue here in the Upper Valley, as it is in much of New Hampshire and Vermont. This is a regional problem, and it can only be solved on a regional basis. A solution can only be achieved through the collaborative effort of such organizations as Twin Pines, private developers, and not just a few, but all of the municipalities in the region. New housing, whether it be multifamily, single family, rental or owner occupied, subsidized or market rate, should be equitably distributed on a regional basis. Lebanon looks forward to working with our neighboring communities in addressing this challenge. Today represents a small but important step in addressing the region's housing needs. As the city's representative, I'm pleased and proud to be celebrating it with everyone here. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Mayor McNamara. One of the ways that the city helps support this project is through something called the Community Development Block Grant Program. This is a federal resource that comes through the state of New Hampshire through the Community Development Finance Authority. You'll be hearing from representatives of that agency. But it is ultimately the first step is through the city. And so I definitely want to thank the mayor and the staff at the city, Shelley Hadfield in particular, but David Brooks, Tim Corwin, Calvin Honeywell, the folks at the building department who helped us with the various planning portions of getting this project done, and obviously the city manager, Sean Mulholland. So thank you to them, and I definitely want to make sure that I recognize some of our distinguished guests. Susan Almy, our state representative here in the city. Thank you for being here. And I know Sue Prentice, our state senator, is here as well. So thank you for being here with us. And thank you for all of your support for affordable housing projects, not just here in the city of Lebanon, but also throughout our region. So one of the, as I mentioned, one of the really important sources for funding is something called the Community Development Block Grant Funding. And that comes through the state. And one of the interesting quirks for those of you from Vermont is that we have a governor's council here in New Hampshire. And one of the important things, and I'm gonna look to our governor's counselor, Joe Kenny, to make sure I get this right, but I believe you vote on every contract over $10,000 in the state of New Hampshire, which happens to involve all the Community Development Block Grant funding coming through the state. So thank you for your vote and support for affordable housing projects like this, and I'm delighted to welcome Joe Kenny next. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I am so excited to be here. We had a community development block grant go through Governor and Council yesterday, but it was for an increase. It was a $500,000 grant for a makerspace in Wolfboro. But because of the construction cost and because of labor cost, it got pushed up to $890,000. So there was a request of a mighty increase. So I guess my point of that is that you've timed yourself very well, because this project is on time, it's on budget, and congratulations to all the folks that were a part of it. Now I have to say that affordable housing and regional housing, as mentioned by the mayor, really does start locally. You know, the towns, the cities, the region. And when you think about it, there's a lot of people in need out there. You know, people need that sense of confidence and security that they have a roof over their house, a roof over their head. And when you think of the Maslow hierarchy of needs, what is one of the things in that little pyramid? It's shelter. And so when you have a sense of where you're going home, to an apartment, to a home, you have a sense of being and belonging and being a part of the community and being part of a family, providing a nurturing environment for small kids and providing for older senior citizens a sense of security. So anytime housing projects come up in the Governor and Council, I've been very supportive of those projects. We know that the demand is very high and the need is very high. New Hampshire, for instance, has, I think it's a 1.4 occupancy of what's available out there. We need more housing, and the Upper Valley needs more housing as well. And so I think if you talk to the private sector, the corporations who I've dealt with more recently, what are the top three things they always say? Housing, childcare, drug and alcohol counseling. Without those services or resources available in a community, businesses don't grow or they might not even show up. That's how critical we are. The Gen Z millennial generation need affordable housing. Our senior citizens need affordable housing. And so I'm reminded of a song by Graham Nash, Our House. Our house is a very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard, but now everything is easy because of you. So you are you. Everybody who's a part of this project, everybody from Susan Almy who have supported this for years, your local officials, your local representatives, the people here, the construction workers, obviously Twin Pines and their staff, they are you. And they're the ones that really make this day possible. I'll be your executive counselor. As long as you elect me into office, I will support affordable housing. I think it's that important. It's critical for New Hampshire and to the other side in Vermont as well. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here today, just to say a few words and be a part of this special occasion. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for those kind words, Councilor. One of the important agencies that I've mentioned previously is the Community Development Finance Authority. And the Director of Economic Development, Kevin Peterson, is here with us today. Now, I will say, in addition to administering the Community Development Block Grant Program, one of the great things that they did for this particular project is help us with our community building. So behind me is our community building. And why does this make such a big difference for the residents who live here? Well, it's because up until this building was completed a few months ago, there was not a handicap accessible way for anyone who lived here who had a mobility issue and needed to get their laundry done to do it. They would have to go down with their laundry basket to the basement, navigate the stairs up and down the stairs. And I remember when we were first looking to purchase this property, one of the comments that was made to me by a resident was that she would get in her car when she had to do her laundry, and she would drive down the hill with her laundry to the local laundromat, and then she would drive home. And I bring this up only because that story stuck with me. And I said to our staff, we've got to get a community building built here. And CDFA, through state tax credits, helped make that possible. So I am delighted to welcome Kevin and and thank the rest of his staff, Shelley Hadfield, George Hunt, and others at CDFA who helped make this possible, because it really does make a huge difference for the residents of our property.
Thanks, Andrew. And Andrew and I go way back too, because before I joined CDFA, I was with New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, and we were able to leverage some resources to help them with pre-development costs through a line of credit. So we are very lucky here in the Upper Valley to have an organization like Twin Pines, one of the real signature nonprofits that is doing absolutely critical work and doing it very, very well. So on behalf of CDFA and our board of directors, I want to congratulate Twin Pines, the city, and all those others involved in the successful preservation of this project. And I remember the outcry at the beginning about the threat of losing this, basically out of the circumstance of rural development not having developed a plan for the properties that were terming out of their financing and their limitations on affordable housing. So you'll hear more about that to come, I'm sure. This is a really critical project, particularly for low-income people, and an important piece of the housing infrastructure here in Lebanon. So a bit about CDFA. We're sort of we fly under the radar. A lot of people don't know about us, but we are a state-chartered nonprofit organization, and we support community economic development all across the state. Last year, we deployed about $18 million in community development block grant funding, state tax credits, and then loans and other financing for clean energy and energy efficiency and other resources. So we're involved in all aspects of community economic development. And here, as Andrew mentioned, a $500,000 community development block grant flowed through the city. Without the city, that doesn't happen, because those dollars are really for communities, and they engage Twin Pines as a partner to do the work. And then secondly, about $200,000 in state tax credit equity. We have a $5 million standing allocation of tax credits. And we have a competitive application process. This is a very competitive application to build this building right here. And I remember in 2018 when we were sitting doing the pre-application meeting, we were down in the basement in a tiny little room, which was the community room, and this is where the laundry room was. And I thought, boy, this is a real challenge. So it made it obvious that this building was critical to the success of this project. So again, it's an excellent example of collaboration of many, many organizations and agencies. And as I said, both the city and Twin Pines have been long-standing partners for CDFA. Projects in the city include a renovation of the headrest building downtown behind the fire station, the Tracy Street project right across from the library, which is the first net zero housing project in the state. So this has been a partnership that's long-standing, and I'm sure will continue. For Crafts Hill, that $500,000 helped to leverage other resources. And then the unsung partners here on the tax credit program are businesses here in the Upper Valley who purchased the tax credits that we allocated to Twin Pines, and that money, instead of going into the general fund, sorry to all those who are looking for tax revenue, but that revenue, instead of going into the general fund, comes to support the specific project, like the community center. So we're really grateful to have been able to be a part of this. We're grateful to Twin Pines and all the other partners for making it happen. and we're looking forward to other partnerships here to support housing and other community development activities in Lebanon and across the Upper Valley region. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. So we've heard a little bit of mention of USDA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and they were a critical partner in developing this housing back in the 1970s. And when it came time to preserve that housing, they were, again, a critical partner. In particular, I'd like to call out some of the staff that worked on this project and has been working on this project recently: Tracy Montminy, Kim Bosley, Kevin Perry, and others who put in the time to help us work through the construction issues and spend the $6 million in funding that they made available to renovate this property. That funding would not have been possible without the strong support of our congressional delegation. We'll hear from some representatives from our congressional delegation. But again, it was the staff at USDA that was doing the work day to day, so I definitely want to recognize them. A project like this does require architects and contractors, and I'd be remiss if I didn't call out those folks for the great work that they did to make this possible. That includes the folks at Studio Nexus. I think Jim's here. I don't see Doug. Did I see Doug here as well? Doug and William at Studio Nexus. They've been a great partner on this project as well as other projects across the Upper Valley for Twin Pines. Thank you for the excellent work and for helping us do as much work as we could on as thin a budget as we had. And you know, I will say one of the things that should be recognized is $6 million sounds like a lot of money, and it is. You need to spend it well, and you need to spend it wisely. But one of the really challenging situations is this is 100 units of housing, and so it's 40 years old. There's a lot to do, and there were things that we needed to get into. And we were really fortunate to have a great construction team at North Branch Construction. I see Bruce, Blazin, Jeremy, Dave. They were the guys here day in and day out trying to figure out how to get as much work done as efficiently as possible and spend every dollar that we had as wisely as possible. So I really, really do appreciate you, and if I can give them a round of applause, that'd be great. So with that said, again, none of this would have been possible without the support of our congressional delegation. And at the time, then Governor Hassan was very much concerned about the potential loss of this housing. She was a verbal participant and working with us and our other members of our congressional delegation and USDA staff to figure out a solution to keep this affordable housing. And I'm delighted to welcome Mackenzie St. Germain from the Office of Senator Hassan to share a few words.
Hi, thanks everyone. I'm Mackenzie. Senator wishes that she could be here today, but unfortunately she's still in Washington, so I have a letter to read on her behalf. Dear friends, I regret that I could not be with you today, but I join you in celebrating the ribbon cutting of Village at Crafts Hill. Affordable, quality housing is critical to our economy and our high quality of life, helping citizens live independently and engage in their communities. It not only helps strengthen our middle class and ensure that working families can thrive, it also helps existing businesses grow and attract new companies and workers to this region. All Americans deserve the opportunity to live healthy, productive lives, and the 100 units of housing built here will help ensure that more New Hampshire residents can live independently and contribute to our economic and civic life. Thank you to everyone here today for devoting your time, energy, and resources to strengthening the health and well-being of our communities. I look forward to continuing to work together to build a stronger New Hampshire where everyone is included in our shared success and prosperity. With every good wish, Maggie Hassan.
Thank you, Mackenzie. One of the earliest and most steadfast advocates for preserving this housing was Annie Custer, Congresswoman Annie Custer. And she was on the phone with us from the very beginning when we were trying to figure out how to preserve this housing. And one of the challenges is that this was one of the very biggest, I mean, at 100 units, it was one of the biggest USDA rural development housing projects in the entire country. And it was coming up at a time when they were still working to develop a plan on how to preserve the hundreds of thousands of existing units that are at risk with the end of the loan terms coming, just like this property. So we had early conversations with Congresswoman Custer, and she really was somebody who, I remember meeting with her and state folks down the hill and USDA folks down the hill at the library, at the Kilton Library, and having those conversations. And so I'm very grateful for all of her work and support for making this happen, making it possible to preserve this housing, but also to renovate it. So with that said, I'm going to introduce Erin Cotton from the Office of Congresswoman Annie McClain Custer.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for having me today. Congresswoman Custer couldn't be here with us, so I have a letter to share on her behalf. Dear friends, thank you so much for the invitation to join you for the ribbon cutting ceremony at Crafts Hill in West Lebanon. Although I cannot be with you in person, please know my thoughts are with you as you celebrate the completion of construction on these 100 units. I want to thank Twin Pines, the City of Lebanon, and everyone whose determination brought this project to fruition. Unfortunately, so many vulnerable Granite Staters are struggling to get by during this pandemic and are at risk of losing their housing. The American Rescue Plan delivers much needed help, including significant funding for emergency rental assistance and support to address mortgage foreclosures. Please know I will continue to work for you in Congress to protect renters from eviction and foreclosures on homeowners who may still be struggling as a result of the pandemic. During this challenging time especially, I am so proud of your important work. On behalf of my constituents across New Hampshire's 2nd Congressional District, I thank you for all you do to provide safe and affordable housing. It's people like you who make New Hampshire such a wonderful place to live. Sincerely, Anne McClain Custer, Member of Congress.
Thank you very much, Erin. This moment wouldn't be possible without significant input and involvement from the staff of Twin Pines. And in particular, I want to recognize Bill Kelsey, our project manager. Bill, you do get some thanks for pushing it over the finish line. Christine McDevitt, who was the original project manager and worked on this for several years before departing for Texas. I know she's regretting it now. We have a working electrical grid here. Bill did a great job finishing up for Christine, and thank you to both of you for helping to get us across the finish line. But I also want to thank Jenny Gibson and her team. I see Jenny in the back. If you want to wave, Jenny, I know you'd hate to be the center of attention. Beth Long, our CFO. Again, there are a whole lot of people, Walter and the maintenance crew. Walter, thank you for all your help today. This project was not easy, and I know we've got some residents here, and I want to thank the residents who had to put up with being relocated, sometimes for a week at a time, sometimes for a few days, but had to put up with a pandemic and how to figure out how to keep renovations going during a pandemic. You put up with a lot, and I really appreciate it. I know my staff, everybody with Twin Pines appreciates it. So if I could ask everybody here to just give a round of applause for the residents. So with that said, I'm going to say we're done. We're at least done with this part of the meeting. And for those of you who are here for the ribbon cutting, please join me. I'm going to ask our speakers to join me over here. We'll do an actual ribbon cutting in front of the community building. There are refreshments. And we also have a tour over here, building 7 Village Lane there, Unit 26. And so people can take a look at one of the units. And for those of you who are also going to be here for our annual meeting, we will give us a couple minutes and we'll gather back here, have some refreshments, and we'll keep the program going there. But this concludes the ribbon cutting portion of the event. So thank you.
Very uncomfortable. I feel like there's open space there.
Okay, folks, so we're now starting the annual meeting part of our agenda. Again, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Andrew Winter, Executive Director, and I'm delighted to welcome Scott Hesser, who is our board chair, who's going to deliver some remarks. And then we're going to go right through the agenda. For those of you who have your program still, on the back side is our agenda for the annual meeting. So, Scott, I will let you get started.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you all for being part of our 2021 annual meeting. Like all other businesses and organizations, this past year has been challenging in many ways, but Twin Pines rose to the challenge and came through strong on the other side. The Board of Trustees would like to especially thank our talented and dedicated staff who adapted and persevered through this past year to meet the needs of our residents and the needs of affordable housing in the region. I'd like to highlight some of the staff's amazing accomplishments. As you've already heard, we completed rehabilitation of these 100 units during a pandemic when we had to move people in and out, adhering to strict safety protocols, dealing with supply issues. Truly a testament to what they were capable of. In Summer Park in Hanover, we completed 24 apartments for seniors and those with disabilities. Twin Pines began construction on Wentworth 2 in Wilder and White River Junction, and that construction is moving along smoothly. With regards to the resident services support team, resident supportive services team, 85% of our residents receive some direct support from our team. During that pandemic, they continued to offer that high level of support, in fact, even increasing their degree of support. The supportive services team reached out to every resident at the beginning of the pandemic and maintained a high level of contacts throughout the whole year. In response to the CARES Act, many of our residents qualified for emergency rental assistance. The resident supportive services team stepped up, tirelessly worked on the paperwork, the volume of this paperwork that was involved with that, and thanks to their efforts, as of right now, no resident is in danger of being too far behind. Likewise, we assisted residents with telehealth and other virtual services. And on top of everything else, the team implemented a fantastic tracking system for monitoring and tracking how they have provided their services. So, all members of the Twin Pine housing staff went above and beyond during the pandemic. It was truly heartening to see their can-do attitude and finding workarounds to overcome the pandemic-related challenges. Additionally, the outpouring of philanthropical support from the Upper Valley community this past year was inspirational. We are very grateful. So next up, coming up, Jim Lyric will give our treasurer's report, followed by a director's report from Andrew, and then Ethan, our board secretary, will propose the new board members. So, Jim?
Scott? Hello, everyone. David Crandall told me I could speak for 30 minutes, so, but I'll try and keep it to 5. So for just about everyone in the world, 2020 was a trying year. When the pandemic hit, as it pertains to finances at Twin Pines, I have to say that I was preparing for the worst, and I had Beth prove to me that we wouldn't experience the worst. At the start of it, we had Beth, who's the CFO of Twin Pines, report on how much days cash on hand we had. And every meeting we'd say, all right, how many more months do we have? And as Scott just highlighted, the successes that we had in 2020, those also extended to the success that we had in the financials. So while we still report how much cash that we have to make sure that we're in good standing, it was an excellent year, and I'll go through some of those numbers, but just want to say thank you to Beth and Andrew, as well as all the staff, and I get the honor of just talking about the finance, but thank you, all your efforts as it extended to the financial success that we had in 2020. So the numbers, Twin Pines for the year had $4.2 million in revenue. What does that mean? In context, that was a big increase from 2019, a 40% increase. And so how does that play out? We have really 3 major sources of revenue. We have development fees, management fees, and then donations from, like many of you in the audience today. All of those saw year-over-year increases. On the donation side, it was our 30th year anniversary, so we had some extra effort around that, and that was successful. On the managerial side, as we continue to add more units, income for those units will go up, expenses will go up as well. We provide excellent supportive services, so you would expect to see that a linear relationship. But the big story in 2020 was our development fees, which can be lumpy and hard to project. But 2020 was a great year, as highlighted in the program. I think it was 54 new units brought on, as well as 30 plus more started. And those manifest in development fees. I'd love to say that that's going to happen year over year. It doesn't, but we'll take it while we have it. We're in a great cash position going into 2021, which is helpful if you have a slower development year. That's the lumpy part of our revenue, and it's what we have to plan for heavily. So let me just make sure I hit some other numbers. With regards to grants and donations, as I said, the 30-year anniversary was a big effort, but also donations around specific efforts like this project here at Crafts Hill were some of the drivers in the increase in donations. On the expense side, 3.6 million expenses, that was a 20% increase. As I noted, some of that increase goes to personnel, add more units, we need more people, more services, more expenses. The net was 600,000 in additional net assets. It put us in a very good cash position at the end of the year. We are expecting 2021 to be a drier year from a development fee standpoint, so that 600,000 in net assets will be very helpful. Again, thank you, Beth. Thank you, Andrew and staff, for all your efforts. And that's it from finance.
Thank you, Jim, for that report. Hard to follow up, but I've got 55 minutes of remarks planned, so there you go. Again, you know, I think I would be remiss if I didn't thank all the staff, some of whom are still here, one last time for all of the excellent work this last year. I see Beth, and you know, thank you for being my partner in helping to keep us on stable footing over what was really a very trying 2020 for so many people. And we are blessed as an organization to have a great CFO and a great finance team to help us through the hurdles. But we are also really fortunate to have a great resident support team, and I'm looking over at Faye over there with her sandwich board saying, you know, Faye and her team did an awesome job working with all of our residents to keep people healthy and housed. And I'm going to pick on another person, Steve Usley. I'm going to pick on you, Steve, because you're sitting in the back row there. Steve did a great job continuing to move forward our home ownership program. And we're really excited as part of that to be starting construction on Monday on 4 new homeownership units in Woodstock. And for those of you who have been following our Safford Commons project, in the long and convoluted history of that project, I think people started talking about doing some housing in Woodstock in 2003. I think 2006 the site was permitted, and finally, after multiple lawsuits, got into construction in 2014, built 28 units, and with 8 additional homeownership units in the wings, and now we're breaking ground on those. So really excited about that. Again, finding ways to expand housing opportunity at a time when there are so many folks who are looking for homes, finding themselves priced out of it, outbid for homes that are going for far above asking price. So I'm glad we're able to do that. And I'm glad we're also this year moving new families into Wentworth Phase 2, 21 units there. The first families are moving in this week over in Wilder, and we look forward to welcoming everybody here to a ribbon cutting event on the other side of the river for 17 additional rental units that will be coming online in July. And then lastly, 2021 will see us add 18 additional units in Hanover. Those are part of our summer park rental project for seniors, and we'll go from 24 to 42 rental units available for seniors there. So we're delighted to be moving those projects forward, and we're excited about what the future is bringing. And one of those projects that's going to be coming up in the year ahead will be a project that we're working on with the Upper Valley Haven and St. Paul's Church on the redevelopment of their site to create housing for those who are at risk of homelessness or have suffered from homelessness by creating hopefully 20 to 25 units of additional housing there with support services. So we're really excited about it. We're getting going now, and that's something that you'll hopefully be hearing positive things about in the months ahead. And then we're continuing to look at opportunities in communities where we haven't worked before. I'll throw one out there. Heartland is one where we're also looking at opportunities there to create some additional rental housing as well. So the future will be busy. It will take a lot of effort, but I'm thrilled to be leading a great team here at Twin Pines to help us move things forward. And I appreciate the support of the board as we look forward to a successful 2021. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Ethan for the presentation of the slate. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to put 2 motions in front of you, and I have already in my pocket 20 aye votes by proxy. The first is to approve the minutes of the 2020 annual meeting, and if I could have a second on the motion. Second. Oh, I was just overcoming a huge temptation to do an auctioneer thing. I won't. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? And then second, I'm going to nominate the following slate of trustees as recommended by the board. New trustees would be Evan Cross and Sarah Leswing. Returning trustees would be Sarah Kobylinski, Jim Larrick, Patrick O'Hearn, and Karen Zook. So I'm moving that slate. If I could have my second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Thank you. Scott, shall I adjourn us, or do you want to come back?
No, I'm going to let you adjourn.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Excellent.